Turning Point USA and their whistleblower story just got so much weirder. So Erika Kirk and the whole timeline has really raised questions since the beginning. And with each new piece of information, more questions come out. So nothing's adding up. These claims are also now rocking Turning Point USA. We've heard from people like Aubrey. We've heard about the details with Erika's own story that people can't ignore. And now more Turning Point USA insiders are making explosive claims.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I'm a former representative for Turning Point USA, and I have a story to tell.
But that's not even the weirdest part. Now, Erika Kirk, we have footage from Erika Kirk and Charlie separately, both saying they knew what was about to go down. Maybe not Charlie, but Erika.
We knew that there was always going to be a threat.
Okay, so we're going to get into it. We now know Erika Kirk had information that does not add up any other way. She knew it was going to happen to Charlie. We always knew Turning Point USA was a fucking sham. Now we really know the truth because of some shocking new developments. I'm going to show you how a bizarre command on a religious holiday connects to a secret desert recruitment operation. You need to see how these pieces fit together. I'm going to show you all the footage today. And real quick, if you're new here, I'm Loren Piretra. Willa Piretra is right beside me. And we run this entire operation, network free and independent, every single day. We just got back from DC, where we saw Stephen Miller in the flesh, lurking at the bottom of the reflecting pool. He's running out of algae to eat. RFK Jr. is also present, and he has been injecting it into his eyeballs. Things just keep getting weirder. And they are now on dry land, both of them. And RFK Jr. is running out of roadkill to eat. Stephen Miller is looking for more people to kidnap with his wife, Katie Miller. So just do me a favor and subscribe. It's the only way you can create a protective barrier between you and the freak shows that run our government right now, because they're on the loose and nobody's safe. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Erika Kirk. For a long time, did we even know who Erika Kirk was? Maybe if you were in the pageant world, you knew who she was, but I sure didn't. She was showing up with Charlie Kirk at events. He was barely on my radar, but now she is trying to position herself as this cult leader of American women and young girls. And the internet still has plenty of her old videos. We've seen it. Looks like a party girl to me. Takes one to know one. And she still talks to the camera in a way that's very sultry and very try hard sexiness. It's just very bizarre. That footage exists side by side with her current public persona. That changed almost overnight. She's trying to sell a fantasy to these hyper conservative viewers about, hey, you can make this sudden lifestyle shift. You can become more holy. You can hang out in my right-wing media circus. So people who are lost and looking for community, they're gravitating towards this. And she desperately needs a fan base because nobody really likes her. And then pair that with the situation we're in right now. Pre-trial, we're coming up. There's a lot of new rulings coming out. We've been covering it in great detail. We have an over 60-something part series on YouTube. This goes so much deeper than one person when it comes to public image. So the organizational culture at Turning Point USA is very easily cracking under any sort of public scrutiny. There's an account called Project Constitution on Twitter, and I think they're on YouTube too, and they recently posted a public call to whistleblowers. They're asking for current and former employees to share their stories to solve Charlie Kirk's murder.
Next week, just as a little preview, next week I'm probably going to be interviewing a former Turning Point employee that was fired basically because they got cancer, which is insane to me. And I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
So we're gonna help tell her story.
And she was a friend of mine.
Yep. Kelvy is the one that introduced me here, got me the connection.
Yep. The more people, and like I said, I had an attorney look over the NDA, and it was pretty groundless. I'm just saying it was pretty weak. It was pretty weak. That's all I'm saying.
So Colin and I have had a little bit of a rough conversation, but we worked it out on the remix. And, game recognizes game. Colin has been one of the few voices really keeping his foot on the gas with the Charlie Kirk situation, and brilliant call to action. He has the audience and the credibility to reach out and to talk to these people. So we'll be following this one closely, but this is what he got. A former representative named Joshua Peterson came forward with a highly detailed account of his time at their training events. He claims that after the first few days of workshops, the senior representatives took out new hires. They rented vans, always a good start, and had stripper poles inside said vans. They had them installed. It is funny to see an organization that is so like prudish and afraid of like women, God forbid, like owning their sexuality, just as Erika Kirk did right up into the second where she became like this preacher of the gospel. But they're also building out stripper poles. Like they are pro-ho and using them in their vehicles for corporate team building. It's just like an HR nightmare. So they drove these young recruits to bars in Arizona and got them toasty.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I'm a former representative for Turning Point USA, and I have a story to tell about when I was at training at Turning Point. The first thing that I found very odd about, this Christian conservative company is they rented 2 stripper vans to take us out to the city. No strippers, but it was like there were stripper poles inside the vans. Very odd, very unlike their values. Once we got down to the bars in Arizona, they started getting us drunk. The former reps were. And then they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, hey, what are your views on Israel? And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right, yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of, Israeli groups and forces? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years now.
The fuck? So the video first starts out, and he's talking like he's, coming back from an ROTC training. And then they get the new hires wasted. It's also kind of giving frat rush. Do frats rush at? Let me know in the comments. And senior staff members were pulling people outside into the parking lot one by one. And Josh says they began interrogating him about specific views on foreign military operatives. He claims representatives admitted that they were working for a foreign intelligence agency. They said that they had been embedded inside Turning Point USA for years to recruit new assets. It sounds like a ridiculous spy movie script, but somehow it allegedly was happening inside this Turning Point USA youth movement. And then it brings us to this even weirder part. And I'm telling you, this stuff is just falling on our doorstep. We're not even seeking it out very hard, but this is crazy. So this is why people are connecting Erika Kirk to these international networks. There's a lot of details here, but let's look at what happened on the day of Donald Trump's. Charlie Kirk allegedly observed a strict Shabbat, meaning phone would be turned off for the entire day. Erika then, however, instructed him to turn his phone on that day because she claimed God wanted him to be reachable. If anyone ever says God wants you to mind your own business, how about that? Let's watch the video clip.
So again, for us, just to start, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, Charlie came home and I was like, I cut the internet. And he's like, how am I supposed to work? I got it all figured out. So we hardwired everything, hardwired our TVs, our computers. It made you more intentional of not being able to use your phone to do certain stuff. When you cut off certain things like that, and you have limited access to Wi-Fi or limited access on your phone, it helps to do something like the Sabbath.
That was crazy. An online commentator named Honest Ash posted this, and she finds everything pretty sus.
But I found something that could suggest Erika, his wife, had prior knowledge of at least some of the things that happened around him leading up to the 10th of September. And Charlie is talking about Donald Trump's unaliving attempt.
I usually turn my phone off on Saturdays. I honor the Shabbat. And Erika, my wife, was like, yeah, I think God wants you to have your phone on today. I was like, okay, sure. Turned to the television screen. And because I saw Trump take the stage, okay, whatever. And then, 10 minutes, I just turned to the screen, and all of a sudden, there's a bunch of agents around Trump. And I was like, wait a second, he has blood on him. Immediately, I have my phone, and I go in the chat. I said, guys, something is very wrong.
Honest Ash claims that Erika does not believe in coincidences. She alleges that Erika is really embedded with Israeli intelligence. There are also several accounts online saying that Erika kept physical possession of Charlie's phone during the aftermath to control the flow of data. We've clipped previously a video where Erika was on the Charlie Kirk show after he was and talking about how she has his phone. It's weird. And when you put that next to the stripper van and the recruitment story and all of this, it just, it doesn't feel very godly and Jesus-y to me. We're going to keep digging in here because this timeline is raising eyebrows at the very least. Play it safe, hit subscribe.